Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it. You already know. Like a torta with the snack habit. Bye up, bye up. City Manny, the YouTube shooter, was back in court and he was denied. What was he denied for? Let's get to this intro. Welcome back to the channel. And if you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, make sure you go ahead and do that. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directing the direction of the dope content that I stay kicking. And I appreciate the support. So Manny Ruiz, also known as Sin City Manny, the YouTuber who allegedly, well, I won't even say allegedly at this point because it's all on video, shot two fellow YouTubers in front of the Bellagio, went back to court, right? I haven't did a Sin City Manny video in a minute because there's been no updates. There's been no process or progress with this case, but he was back in court in January for a brief moment to address a situation. Now, it's a situation I've been through before, a situation a lot of incarcerated individuals have been through, and it's pretty standard, right? It's official, kind of like a referee's whistle. When you're given a public defender, okay, you're not always going to be happy with the success of your case or what that public defender is trying or willing to do for you. You need to understand when you're given a lawyer by the courts and it's a public defender, he or she is going to do the best they can. Okay, they got a lot of other caseloads. They got a lot of other cases going on. And to be quite honest with you, I've never seen the greatest outcome with the public defender. Now, that doesn't mean you don't get a good, striving young public defender that wants to get some notches in their belt, that's willing to go all in for your case. But most of the time, 9 times out of 10, these public defenders are working with the district attorney or does have some affiliation with that office and is willing to just try to get you a deal so that you can get convicted and the fuck up out of here. Now, Manny Ruiz went back to court to try to fire his lawyer. Now, I was under the assumption at any time any client has the right and the privilege to fire their attorney and to be given, upon request, a new attorney. Manny was denied. Manny went to court and the judge decided that they did not see any reasoning to give Manny Ruiz another lawyer. And, you know, it's a pretty big case. We're talking about double homicide, 2 open murder cases, first-degree murders, basically. And the situation is going to get tricky. Now, I have received some information that Manny's his ex-wife, is willing and working with and cooperating with the law enforcement. If that's the case, Manny's in trouble because that's going to prove premeditated murder. That's going to prove the fact that that woman, right, knew everything that he was planning to do. Now, of course, they got several videos, a lot of video footage of him premeditating, basically threatening and saying that, you know, when Tanisha and Rodney Finney pull up to Vegas, he had something for them. He was on the hunt looking for them, and it wasn't going to turn out well, to which it didn't. Okay. He was known to carry a firearm. He was known to be aggressive. Look, I've never been an advocate against Manny, and I've never been the one to pick and choose sides. But I think what he did and the aggravating factors of it were pretty, he went ahead and did too much. Now, but who's to not say, man, that man was feeling how he felt, and he felt that was the only way to defend his honor, his name, and his family with murder. That's what he did, okay? That's water under the bridge at this point, besides what the families are dwelling on. Manny is now in a fight for his life because if he does get convicted of these 2 murders, he definitely is up for the death penalty. And this, if anything, could be a death penalty case. This was that Clark County can lay an example down. Okay. They can say this man was a threat and is a threat and a menace to society. What he did to these 2 innocent people in front of hundreds of onlookers was basically an execution style murder. Okay. He is saying, and his lawyer is saying, that Mr. Finney, okay, did pull out a weapon or was being aggressive towards Manny, and that's why Manny did what he did. But the execution style shooting of the back of Tanisha Finney's head is going to cancel Christmas for Manny forever. Okay, now Manny went to court and he decided that his lawyer, his public defender, wasn't doing enough. But I'm here to tell you guys, I've had several public defenders, some good ones, mostly bad ones. Okay, and I don't knock their hustle. I don't knock what they're doing. You got to understand, these people are working for the county or the state, and they're doing the best fucking job they can. Most of them. Some could give a shit less. It's another caseload. It's another face. It's another person. It is what it is, right? And I don't know who Manny Ruiz's public defender is and how hard they are working on their case. But let me explain something to you. When you are given a date that's pushed a year away for trial, when you are sitting there in the county jail, stressing off your case, you're the only one that's doing that. That lawyer is not tripping. That lawyer has other cases. They're going on about their life. They're doing what they got to do. And most public defenders, you know, within reason, will take a look at the case because it's part of their caseload. But 9 times out of 10, they're just going to do their thing right there towards the end. Right when it's time for trial, that's when they'll start putting shit together. Now, Manny's in a fight for his life. The public defender isn't. You're not, I'm not, he is. Why? Because he did an unspeakable crime. He will be punished for his crime. The Finney family will get retribution or some type of justice out of this situation. This man is not going to go scot-free. Because if you watch the video several times, like I watched the video, you could tell that Manny was walking by trying to antagonize the situation and hoping that Rodney Finney would say something so that way he could turn around and shoot him, to which he did. I mean, he basically said it in the video that he was looking for him and that because he felt disrespected that that man came to his city and brought his wife to his city, Las Vegas, that he was going to do something about it. And he did. Now, as far as the premeditation part, you know, that's going to get him. That's going to get you every time. He knew because that man went live. He knew at that point right there exactly where he was. You know, that's the thing about dropping an addy, dropping your address, dropping your location. When you're on live, right, it shows a lot of things. It shows stupidity. It shows no sense of fear. But it also shows not a keen mind and not a great way of thinking, especially in this day and age, because people will recognize your situation, recognize where you're at, recognize where you're from, and pull up and do something bad to you. It's errant opportunity. And when you're going live and showing everybody where you're at, yeah, there's going to be a whole bunch of people in your life saying, oh, that's cool. Yeah, you're a real one. You're a real one. Till you get shot. And then all they can do is cry and say, well, what happened? Well, what happened was this man decided to show the location of him and his innocent wife, who wasn't exactly as innocent as people might think, right? And this guy who had beef with him, deadly beef, pulled up and displayed what he was going to display and did what he was going to do. Now, Manny trying to fire his lawyer is a situation a lot of us that are convicts or ex-convicts have been through, right? Sometimes you get a lawyer that you don't feel fits your case, that you don't feel is working hard enough, that you can't get a hold of. And let me tell you something right now, man, having been locked up and having several, man, lawyers, man, I can tell you right now, you're not always going to be happy because first and foremost, you're not happy with your situation, a situation you put yourself in. And the public defender they're trying to defend the public from someone like you, right? Read into it. You know, everything is worded the way it's worded for a reason. Public defenders are not defending you. They're defending the public from people like you. That's some knowledge you can't get in college, some real game, right? At the end of the day, I've been in a situation, I was in a situation where I could not get a hold of my lawyer. I would call their office several times. They were always out. The paralegal didn't even know what fucking case my case was. They couldn't get a hold of certain paperwork. I would give them a list of witnesses that were in my behalf. They would not contact these people. I was contacting the people. So I understood and I was aggravated. And I did go to court and request to fire this lawyer and was granted that notion, right? I was given the opportunity to do that. And guess what? I got an even worse public defender. And I just gave up and got convicted. Took a deal and got on down the road. So I understand what Manny's feeling and what he's going through. But really, does he deserve the opportunity to be defended in the best fashion, he does. Okay? And the rule of law, the court of law, the rule of land, right? Everyone gets due process. Everyone has the chance to defend themselves. And I can tell you guys right now, looking at Manny's perspective in this situation, right? Wanting to fire his lawyer, to which the judge denied. So he's stuck with that lawyer. And now, how do you think that lawyer feels? How do you think his defense is going to go when the lawyer knows that he talked shit about him? He wanted to fire him. He wanted to get rid of him. Do you think that lawyer's really going to put his all in? Nah, not even close. If anything, Manny just fucked himself pretty bad. Even worse than he did the moment that he shot that couple. Just is what it is, right? But does Manny, does he deserve the right to get defended properly? Absolutely. Everybody does. You know, you guys need to look at this case for what it is. It was bullying and harassment to the highest degree, and it kind of snapped and broke that man. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say Manny Ruiz, if you watched his videos, the Sin City Manny channel, Sin City family, by any stretch of the imagination was a stable mind. Not at all. He was what we would consider in a prison situation or in the gang situation as a fucking J-cat, right? It seemed like he was willing to do anything on camera and dress any way on camera and act any way on camera and treat any people on camera the way he seen fit, which was ever lucrative for him. Even demeaning his lady, his family in certain situations. Now, I'm not going to say that was the real Manny. That could have been his persona and just what he was trying to do. But if you really watched him, he was willing to do anything. Now, I'm not going to say the man didn't have heart. And when I say heart, I don't mean heart in a sympathetic way. I mean having heart in a street way. Okay, willing to go all out, willing to fight. I've seen several occasions where he did take flight on people. Now, I'm not going to say that he was fighting guys that would fight back, but he was hitting people, assaulting people, and ultimately killed 2 people. Okay, so it's not that he wasn't willing or given the opportunity would do something. The thing is, did them people break him to a snapping point? Did they snap him? You know, people that get aggravated on social media can take it any way they want to take it. I get shit talked about me every day. Videos made, people disrespecting me, people, I'm all up in their motherfucking cabeza, right? They just got to have me in their lives, right? And I could get angry and upset about it and snap and go crazy and want to do something bad to them. You know what I'm saying? I got all their addresses. I could go crazy. But guess what? Why? What does that do for me? What does that video that they do for me? Does it hurt me? No, it helps me. In fact, all publicity, I say, is good publicity, right? So at the same time, I take it for the opposite. You know, I know these people are trying to antagonize myself with the intentions of me crashing out so they could point fingers at me and basically get rid of me on the internet. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to give them that air and opportunity. I'm not going to give them that. You can't break me, right? I'm going to continue to do me as long as I can and as long as I'm able. But I'm going to go out on my own accord, not because people said something bad about me. See, I could take ridicule. I could take all that. Manny could not. Manny let it get to him. And in the end, Manny is the one trying to fire a lawyer facing 2 counts of first-degree murder, looking at the death penalty. Okay? Because he let individuals bully him into a situation. That's why I say Rodney and Tanisha were not as innocent as people seem to believe. Now, once they became victims of the shooting, a lot of people came to their defense. Oh, it wasn't that serious. He shouldn't do that. But if the roles were reversed, would we be saying the same thing about Mr. Rodney? You got to ask yourself that. I believe the innocent victims in this whole situation was the public, the people who had to witness that murder, the families of the victims and the accused, right? It was just a fucked up situation that accumulated over years. It wasn't something that just happened over a fucking bowl of spilt milk. It wasn't just a couple words. You got to understand that this dude Rodney made it a point to create a channel to just go at Manny continuously and constantly every day till it broke that man. You know, I don't blame that man for feeling the way he felt, but I think his actions were a little bit overboard. I don't think Tanisha should have been shot. If he felt that Rodney Finney was approaching him and was trying to get off on him and he felt he had to defend himself and stand his ground, it is what it is, right? That's 2 grown men who have a distaste and a dislike for each other, and they decided to finish that story with violence. Because I'm sure if Rodney could have got his hands on Manny, he would have beat the holy shit out of him, or at least tried to, right? Manny was not trying to let that happen, so he pulled a pistol. There's going to be a lot of people that say him pulling the pistol was a cowardice act. Hey, man, when you talk that street shit, when you live that street shit, there's that street shit, right? As far as Tanisha, Rodney's wife, she had zero to do with what was going on between her and her husband besides her opening her mouth a lot, being a part of that. It's very upsetting, and it's a situation, man, that could have been prevented but was not. They could have had conversation. Do you understand that Rodney and Manny were once cool? That's kind of like me and a lot of my haters. A lot of the people that hate on me and talk shit, not all of them, but 99% of them I was cool with at some point. They used to follow my channel, support me. And because I didn't give them the attention they wanted, or something somewhere along the line, I crossed the line that they felt was, oh, right? They decided to continuously go in on me. So I understand, right? But I also understand that I will never let no one pave the way for me. I lay my own pavement, homie. You know what I mean? I walk my own road. Manny should have walked his own road and he wouldn't be having to try to fire his lawyer. But he is. So he did go back to court. He did request a new lawyer, basically firing his public defender, and the judge denied him. Does the judge have the right to? The judge has the right to do whatever the fuck they want to do. He had to show proof of why this public defender was lacking in their macking, why this public defender was not doing exactly their job and what they set out to do. And to be totally honest with you, I understand he's fighting for his life. I understand he might have witnesses and he wants to talk to the lawyer every day. Look, when you're locked up and you got nothing to do and there's a phone right there, you want to be on that phone with your family or a friend or a lawyer all day long to try to pass the time, but even more so to try to prove your innocence or to try to fucking figure out a way up out of this situation. This was the biggest way to figure your way up out of the situation. Don't create the situation. Okay? You notice a lot of people that do criminal acts always try to justify it after the fact. You know, there's no justification there or no reasoning with yourself when you're willing to commit the act. But after, all of a sudden, you got buyer's remorse. Take it back. But you can't take 2 murders back. So you can't give those people back to their family. You can't give those people back to their friends and their loved ones. You have to take whatever you got coming on the chin because you did that. See, if you're willing to kill these people behind words, if you're willing to go all out in front of everyone and shoot these 2 people because of the way you are, because you're big badass, well, then you got to go do time, big badass. That's just the way it is. But that doesn't mean that man doesn't have the right to get defended. Of course he does. But in this case, the judge said, Chale, you're not going to get a new lawyer. And I don't think he's going to be given a new lawyer. Look, if you have the money to pay for your lawyer, that's when the decision, the ball's in your court. That's when you're the decision maker. But when you're depending on the state because you're indigent and you don't have any money, you have to deal with whatever they give you. That's like state prison, man. Hey, it's your right to go to that chow hall to get that fucking chicken on the bone or not. It's your right to go get that Grand Slam on Sundays or not. Okay? You're not going to tell them what and when they could put shit on the menu. You're not going to tell them you guys want Taco Tuesday on Taco Wednesday. It ain't going to happen. But you do have the right to go eat or not. Okay? Eat what's on your plate or don't fucking eat at all. Remember when your mother used to tell you that? At least mine did, right? It's the kind of hood I came from. Eat what's served or fucking don't eat at all. I can care less. I don't give a fuck, right? And that's just how that was. Starve, motherfucker. But I don't like onions, bitch. Tomorrow I'm serving nothing but onions, right? Your mom's had me fucked up for a couple of days. You just get what you got. So in this case, Manny's going to have to continue with this lawyer. And I really wish the best for everyone involved in this case, man. I don't want to see Manny out on the streets. A person like that that's unstable, that lets a man with just simple words dictate his program is not a man that I think is stable enough to be in society. Again, man, I'm not against Manny. You know, if he's willing to pull a rabbit out the hat and the lawyer somehow pulls a miracle out and can prove that Rodney was fucking trying to hurt Manny or hurt his feelings, you know, imagine that defense. Yeah, my client, he executed this guy and his wife in front of hundreds of people because his feelings were hurt. Well, shit, give that motherfucker a hug, right? That's what it basically is. A YouTuber who had YouTube beef with another YouTuber and decided, man, he just couldn't take it. Like a Twisted Sister song. And what did he do? He went out there and he twisted the brother and the sister, and that's unfortunate. With that being said, that's the only update I have on this case. Manny went back to court, tried to fire his lawyer. The judge said, Toma, you don't get nothing. And that's it. Thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I truly believe in. That's the betterment of all people. This video is sponsored by Barrio Liquors out there in Turlock, California. If you're ever in the Central Valley area in Turlock, pull up to the Barrio Liquors. Tell Lali I said, what's up? Also by Sticks and Stones Yard Service out there in AZ, Big Arizona. Google the homeboy Sticks and Stones, and if he's in your direct area, he'll pull up and take care of business. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you. We got a lot more for you today. A lot more.